Hey everybody, welcome to Vibe Check. I'm Megan. Wherever you're listening to this from, I'm grateful that you're here and taking some time to learn a different perspective to maybe help make your life a little bit easier. I sync my entire life to two different schedules, which really is one different schedule. And it made me think of that this morning because I've been writing all this morning. I had a fantastic dream. I needed to write about it. And I write the most when I'm ovulating and when it's in this new moon energy. And that's what made me think about it as I'm flicking through my list on my notes app of all these things that I can talk about. And it's like syncing to a cycle to make your life easier. I'm like, hot damn, I did that this morning because I write more when I ovulate. So in my calendar, I have blocked off 4 days that are focused on writing because I know that I'm gonna have a good dream, that I'm gonna wanna write about, that I write really well when I'm ovulating. It's very juicy, very detailed. Output's very easy. I'm happy to do it. And it's not like it's hard, there's less resistance there. And even talking to a friend about she was giving herself a hard time about not having a great gym session. I'm like, well, where are you in your cycle? And she's like, oh, like I'm a week out. I'm like, well, you're like, of course, like that totally makes sense why you wouldn't be as good now as you're like moving into your luteal phase and not being able to make it work as much as you. But it's also important to understand that it's like while we have these physical and internal cycles and clocks within us, there's also these external clocks within nature with the seasons, with the winter, spring, summer, fall, but also with the moon and the new moon and the full moon, and how you can use each one to your benefit to make life easier. And I think astrology has a part of this, and Gene Keys and Human Design has that element of being able to find systems that make your life easier, that use the biological, natural-based cycles and clocks that are already there, that it would only make sense that when we sync up to them, that our life gets easier. And I think it's finding the one that works best for you. I think we can, I'm like just thinking back on this as a personal, I've definitely had times where I've become so embedded in a system and in a structure that it doesn't allow me the freedom to be who I am or even listen to my intuitive nature. But instead, I'd love us to find the systems that feel good for us, so that allow us to think and realize more what our bodies are saying, what our intuition is saying, to really validate that yes, that is what you want to go. That's my personal viewpoint on astrology. It's incredible. Oh no, I have to sneeze. It's incredible to be able to look forward in and do some planning and to prepare you for what's coming up, which mentally allows me a little bit, feels like I have intentional, proactive, positive intention for my need to control, so I can prepare for certain things, but I can also let go and let the universe do as it will, and know that there's fated events with everything, which is why I have an incredible time during Mercury retrograde comparatively to like some people, because that's how I approach it. But when I look at the lunar cycle, that you can get into the very, very basic one of on your new moon, you're manifesting, and on your full moon, you're letting go. But on your new moon cycle, taking the time on the new moon day or night on either side of it to be able to like intentionally sit down and have some time being deliberate. What do I need to bring into my life? And this next month is coming up. What is it that I desire to experience? Having ritual around that, having time, and then using those 2 weeks in that new moon period to be able to do the output and steps in order to bring that into your experience. Versus like on the full moon, which is a beautiful time to be able to have ritual and time and deliberation around deliberation. Is that even a word? Yeah, it is. It's like the intention and ritual behind letting go. Oh, excuse me. Yawning is a sign of being able to let go. Some conscious programming as I move out of flight or flight and into homeostasis. It's nuance. But that when you're making that time for the ritual that comes to full moon, being able to let go, doing a burning ceremony, or having some in like letting yourself feel your emotions, making space, that then in that 2 week period following the full moon, you're taking more deliberate steps to put energy back in, but also doing like a lot of different self-care. So on your new moon, you want to manifest, but then in those 2 weeks afterwards, you want to be able to take steps towards that action. This is when you're like signing up for the programs, when you're making the investment, when you're doing the thing, when you're reaching out, when you're doing the launch, being able to have that very action yang forward moving energy that's like, these are the steps I need to take to get me to where I want to go, output, versus the full moon, which is very yin, is that feminine. It's like, now we need to input. Well, now I need to feel my emotions about maybe not receiving that thing yet. Or maybe I need to be able to like, I just need no more launching. I'm gonna like rest and celebrate and calibrate my nervous system right now. This is when we want to book the massage. This is when we want to have that little bit more stronger boundaries towards like our own self-respect and like what it is that we need first. And doing that in the simplest way, especially if you're a water-based sign, can really help take out the overwhelm of feeling like you have to do a whole bunch of things all the time, when really just twice a month for like an hour on the night of the new moon or the full moon, you'd be like, well, what do I want in my life? Okay, so I wanted to get the carpets cleaned. So it's like on the new moon manifestation, I am so excited to have such clean carpets. In this time, I'm gonna journal about how it feels that I have new carpets. I'm gonna write down all the things that it's gonna be in the benefit of. It's like being able to have that ritual around your manifestation, having it in. And then in those 2 weeks, I'm gonna put a reminder in my calendar that it's like, hey, check into carpet cleaning. And I'm probably gonna find on my social media carpet cleaner. Maybe I have some people in my life that I can ask if they have any carpet cleaners they wanna recommend. Maybe I can check into a Facebook group and do like my research for that. And then lo and behold, like we did find a carpet cleaner when my parents were over one day. They were like, oh yeah, we found this carpet cleaner. Well, I was like having that brought in for it, which is incredible, and having that. But if I wasn't to have that in my experience on that full moon, I can be like, well, why don't I feel like I deserve to like let this happen? Like, why is it stopping me? Is there a part of me that likes the dirty carpets? Is there a part of me that's just looking to control something? What's my intention behind it? Does this actually matter? Or do I just think it's matter? Is this a priority that I'm bumping up because I'm actually avoiding feeling something else? Which can happen a lot with things. But now that I did have my carpets cleaned and that did actually come to fruition, now for that full moon, I'm like, okay, like how can I take care of this with the house a little bit more? So it's like being able to really take my time and rearrange the plants. And we're gonna put up the Christmas tree, and we changed a little bit of the lighting, and I find that we're all taking care of the home space just a little bit better now that those like such an energy leak has been fulfilled. And I'm just like really allowing myself to enjoy it. And it sounds, this is very middle-aged of me, which was also, I went for brunch this weekend and I ordered a beet salad. I'm like, this is legitimately what I want for nourishment, was a beet salad at brunch. So there's a part of me that's so disappointed in myself, but it's also being able to honor like, no, this is what I want. It's like, I get to sit here and enjoy it now. I can sit here on the couch after brunch looking, I'm like, damn, look at these clean carpets. This feels so good. This is so great. I love taking care of my home. My home takes such good care of us. It's nice to be able to have like that spa treatment for them to be able to do that. I'm glad it was such a safe thing for us to do. I'm glad that the guy did such a great job and I can be able to recommend it. It's like being able to have those like two different experiences with that new moon manifesting side versus the full moon nourishment side of it. And sometimes it's something as ridiculous as carpet cleaning. Sometimes it can be as complex as bringing in a lover or a new job or a career or new energy. And sometimes it's just something really tiny, like time. Like I want more time. And being able to manifest that and just being curious about how it arrives into your system. But like my favorite thing to get people to manifest is either $100 or a plant. and just to see how it comes in when you're starting to practice these rituals and this time and this syncing. But when you put the new moon and the full moon either on your physical calendar, like the one on the wall or in the fridge, or you're putting it into your phone to help remind you of that, it helps you be proactive. What helps, these trucks outside, I am so excited. We're working on manifesting a home that's like quiet, and I'm excited for that. Oh, and every time a noisy truck goes by or like noisy car goes by, there's that part of me that can be like, oh, this is not good. And I'm like, what a beautiful reminder that I get to get into the feeling of being excited and appreciative for the quiet every time I don't experience the quiet. You know what I mean? Okay. Again, a little bit of a sidetrack. But it's like when you're putting these things in your calendar, this helps you be more proactive, which gives you more time, which helps you feel like you're more in control, which also I think gives you a little bit just like more awareness of nature and the external world around you, right? It makes you kind of remind you like you're on a floating rock in the sky and there's another rock that's floating, reflecting off a huge fireball as we're all hurling through space, which I think is like important to remember sometimes when you're trying not to get overwhelmed about the grocery bill, that you can have those new moon and full moon nights and just having that just like very centering moment with things. Okay, so that's like one system to be able to use is that new moon and the full moon cycle to be able to help make your life a little bit more easy. So if you're looking for more time, and if you're looking to get more proactive, and if you're looking to get in touch with a little bit more of your spiritual woo-woo side, I would totally recommend putting the new moon and the full moon in your calendars as part of your cycle syncing. The more detailed way, or I guess the and more physical side, is if you're a person who menstruates or a person that bleeds, is syncing your life to the menstrual cycle. And when you're taught in high school biology or in your health class, like I remember very vaguely touching on this, very vaguely, maybe one class, and being able to understand what this is. But to really understand how it then affects the rest of your life is important. And this is a rabbit hole you can get into seed cycling and hormone stuff in. Like there's a depth of that, which is important. And I recommend that you do so with like a naturopath and a practitioner. But the cycle syncing that I do is the start of your cycle is the day that you start to bleed is day 1. And then, so mine goes from, I'm in shark week, so active bleeding from like day 1 to day like 4. I give day 5 as a little buffer. And this is like in my calendar. So on shark weeks, this is like my full moon time, and I am doing nothing but input. I do not do any service of any kind on any level when I'm bleeding. And I want you to apply that to like a couple different areas of your life, right? So it's like, I'm not cleaning. I'm not doing a lot of favors for other people. I'm giving myself permission to have boundaries around a level of work output. Oddly, I don't ever book this time off of work in my schedule, but it very, very often happens that I will not have clients, or my cycle will start on a weekend, especially day 1 and day 2, that I don't do like any energetic like output of everything. And I know that that's very privileged and that not everybody has the capacity to be able to have that. But just when you have this time to really honor the sacredness of what your cycle is letting go of, and I believe that our wombs hold all of our emotions, so that when you have that time to let go and allow yourself to, it's a very powerful time to be able to listen to not only what is going out and being thankful for that, but also be able to listen to what wants to come in and being really grateful and excited for that as well. That would be like a whole other podcast, I think. But it's just the sanctity around like that bleed, and it really helps me have a stronger connection in a way that I feel is positive with my cycle as well. That when I honor that time and the emotions, I let myself cry, I spend a lot of time under heat and heated blankets and in the shower. And instead of doing extra stuff at night after the workday is done and the kids are fed and we've cleaned the kitchen, that it's like then like I'm watching a movie or doing a book, and my life is just a lot slower for those 4 days. And it's a really beautiful way to be able to honor your body and your energy with things. And I do not work out at this time whatsoever. I very, 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 very rarely write. And I don't make a lot of executive decisions during that time. But I will follow quite a bit of the spiritual guidance, any spiritual guidance that comes in during those 4 days. I like that's like probably the only thing that I immediately act upon is that, because it's like that's what's trying to come into my experience. That's what's trying to come into my body. And like that's what I'll follow through with. And yeah, I don't work out during that time at all. I'll go for like walks outside, but that's probably the absolute extent of it. And then, so kind of like your second week when you're follicular, and like if you need a recap, just go on TikTok and type in the menstrual cycle overview, and it'll give you a great little video of like what happens. But when you're follicular, so like this is like day 5 to 10 for me, again, in my calendar, this is when my output is very increased. My energy is starting to rise. I'm feeling a lot better, which is all linked to hormones, which you can also do some back refresher for or learning from. But it's like, this is the time I'm lifting weights. I'm going to group classes that men are teaching. I'm writing a lot more. I'm doing a lot of social media at this time. I'm doing the projects around the house. It's a lot of output because I feel energized, because I've let go of all my emotional garbage during Shark Week. Now that I'm follicular, I'm like, okay, I'm like feeling good. I can like do this stuff. There's space and the capacity to be able to do that. I'm following through on decisions. I'm making the time to be able to book stuff. Just like so much output, but in a way that like feels really good. Like it doesn't feel draining at that time. And then after I'm follicular, so like we're all like what, day 10 or 11. So like days 12, 14, 15, 16, days 12 to like 16, 17 for me is ovulation. And this is fucking go time for me. I block off most of this time to do my writing. It's when I usually have the most clients that are booked in for Reiki sessions. It's when I get the most output done. It's when I get really brave. I am not allowed, because I'm a single parent, single parent that's unpartnered. I am not allowed to download or any dating apps or meet up with any men during this time, because I do not feel that that's like a safe decision for me, because that's not the kind of like what I want in energetic exchange. But this is definitely the time that it's like, if I need to consume content that a man is teaching, this is when I will listen. So this is when I'm listening to different types of podcasts. I'm reading books that are written by men. I'm watching interviews from men like during this time. And like, it's a different level of output. And there's like just like that different energetic exchange. This is when I lift the heaviest. If you're working out and doing weights, is when I'm ovulating. So this is when I do like my harder classes, like workout classes for this. I'm definitely not worrying about any sort of energetic exchange whatsoever during that like small window of time. It's just like fucking go time, and I go balls to the wall with that. After days 16, 17, so moving from like day 17 to day like 27, 28, and I'm very fortunate to be very regular now, but I think this is also partly wise because I do follow the schedule. That's when I start to get luteal. So I will go from like being queen of the world on top, absolutely unstoppable, and I will slowly start to notice my energy change over a period of time. And like over those kind of like 8 to 10 days with that is that I don't want to listen to what men say anymore. I'm way more rage baity. It takes a lot more for my central nervous system to be regulated during this time. This is when I'm taking my yin yoga classes that are taught by women. This is when I'm seeking more community, that I want to be around my friends and around other women at this time. I want to cook nourishing meals. I'm starting to slow down a bit. My projects are kind of like wrapping up at that time, or I'm wanting to get my projects wrapped up at that time because I can feel myself wanting to rest more. But this is the time I'm like, I'm not listening. This is when you're luteal, you are way more likely to be harder on yourself mentally and emotionally. And this is when self-doubt can creep in. And not necessarily creep in, but be a lot louder than it usually is. So this is the time where I start to, and it's like, then I'm listening to the podcast from the women in my life and people that are wanting to think the way I think, but it's a lot gentler. I don't need somebody yelling at me to be able to do something because I'm probably going to start crying. What I want to introduce in this time is a lot of kindness and compassion for myself and that empathy and be able to feel that and that nourishment of community, which is linked to like that full moon side of things that is like that reflected in that. But because I make the time and space to be able to slow that down, I also create this very small window, and I feel like you'll understand what I'm talking about. I have this very small window of like just a day or two right before I start to bleed, so day 26, 27, 28, where I will cry about something that usually kind of bothers me just a little bit, but it's like really bothering me now. And if you have any sort of cycle discrepancy or a diagnosis with that, it's exponentially heightened during that time. But what is trying to happen during that time is all your emotions that are no longer serving you are wanting to leave your body. And you gotta find a way to be able to have those leave your body. So it's either going to like, if you're feeling ragey, resentful, frustrated, you need to be going to some sort of like kickboxing class, something where you're punching something. You have to physically move the emotion out with things. But like my kind of like that one day, I'm always worried about if I'm a good enough parent or if I'm a good enough partner or friend, or am I ever gonna be a good enough partner, or the life that I'm living and how different it is. I just get like really in my head about things. But I have a calendar reminder, as the Virgo that I am, to make myself cry and watch something really sad, to be able to have those emotions released before they get triggered from the outside. So I am being proactive about releasing my emotions, which helps me stay out of my head and not have days like this where you just feel like garbage. I always think of that meme where you're like crying about something and the next day when you get your period, you're like, I knew I wasn't a weak ass bitch, because it's just like this whole time everything's been fine, and now on just this one day you're completely crashing out over something that isn't even true, feels like in the grand scheme of things or normally is significant. But if you're planning ahead with this and having increased iron and maybe having a steak that night and letting yourself have that chocolate, or getting the extra spinach or iron booster in your like post-workout shake, that it's serving what your body naturally wants to do, which is to feel your emotions, which a lot of the time is to cry. And I've gotten a lot of voice notes from my friends and from my clients. They'll be in the bathtub crying, or they're sitting there watching the movie that always makes them cry, eating a chocolate cake or whatever it may be. But just knowing that it's like, once you get in the habit of honoring your cycle gets easier. And even if you're not regular, if your cycle's not a good time and you don't have a good relationship with it right now, which is valid, because there are some diagnoses and disorders that are like, it's not a good time ever, and drawing more attention to it isn't gonna help. If you can focus on the lunar cycle, which is this, like, the lunar cycle, the moon is the same thing that's happening in your body. If you can focus on that lunar cycle and the regularity of that, then your own physical cycle gets easier, and you develop a better relationship for it, and you actually start to look forward to it. and you know what you need and you know what you like, and you can plan ahead in a way that's different. You're not planning ahead because it's gonna suck. You're planning ahead because it's actually working in your favor. See how that like works? And I think it's one of those things, a lot of the clients that I've worked with Reiki, that a lot of them come to me with endometriosis and with PPMD, and just having this like really broken relationship with their womb space. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. And it's also knowing that you don't have to be female or identify as a woman to also be able to have that. That when all of us link to this full moon, new moon cycle, which is something that I talk to with my teenagers at dinner. It's like, oh, it's the new moon. What do you want to bring in? Oh, it's the full moon. What do you want to cry about? What do we want to let go of? What do we not want to do? What's not serving us anymore? What's going to serve us better? That when you link to this, it's like your life starts to get easier, and these systems can help. Giving yourself permission to be like, what is the one that's going to work and which one isn't. And I think trying on different ways in which also to be able to do it like helps immensely. And I think too, it's like the astrological side of it, that it's how I follow the astrological seasons, is being able to just have like an overarching umbrella theme. It's not anything important. It's not anything overwhelming or needs to change the priority. It's just one of those things that I can like focus on for a little bit. That it's like it's like Virgo season for me is like about that healing and what it is, and Libra season for me is about those relationships. So where can I focus on that? And sometimes it's just like in having a journaling session while having my coffee on a Saturday morning after the season changes, to be able to make that deliberation. But there's also this external environment, and as we start to move into winter, and being in northern Canada, the days are very, very short. This is like I have to film the podcast in a very tiny window because we only get sunlight for a couple hours a day right now. That there's a part of us that can like not like the change into the seasons, or we get really frustrated that we're leaving a season and going into another one. That it's like, where can we make these transitions into our life easier for stuff that's inevitable? Like, we can't stop winter from coming. So how do we honor the fall that we've had, being able to celebrate it? What, looking back on each season and having like a ritual around it, being able to have it work again in your favor. So you don't have to do this on the solstice and the equinox. You can. There's probably a part of your soul that'll love it because it connects you to like a pagan heritage of like a past life that you had where you did celebrate on those days. But just knowing that it's like, maybe it's the first day of snowfall, or the day that you get the holiday decorations on, you can like, well, what am I excited about with like this winter season? How can I make my winter better? Last year, what was winter like? Oh man, it was like this. So what do I want to do? What do I want to do again that worked? What do I feel like I might need to make things better? But also, what did I really like about the fall? What was great? What kind of ended, because I'm like, in the fall, we went for a walk after dinner almost every day, and it was incredible. So what do I want? I want to keep that same energy going, knowing that it's not safe for us to walk outside in the dark and the snow and the ice for the next couple months. So how can I have that same feeling bringing into a new routine for this season? I'm like, oh, well, we can start doing board games, or maybe we could build another bloody puzzle. If you've been following me on Instagram, this thing with this polo. Actually, I have to do that video. That it's like, how can I bring that same feeling that we get on the walk into a feeling of winter? Because winter is a very yin season. It's all about that nourishment. That you can use the time over the winter, just like you use the time in the full moon, just like you use your time during Shark Week or like your bleed week for your menstrual cycle, of what do I need to put in? And maybe that answer is carbs and cheese. And maybe it's a Lord of the Rings marathon. What do you need to put in? What do you need to heal? What do you need to spend time with? What does your soul need to be able to feel nourished over the winter? So that when we move from winter into spring, you can be like, okay, well, I wasn't severely depressed this winter like I usually am. I actually allowed myself to like learn a little bit more about my darkness and my shadow and what that means, make friends with it. And how time I do love doing a different soup every Sunday. And I'm glad we did that Lord of the Rings marathon over Christmas. But as we move now into spring, what do I want to bring into that season? Springs, it's like that, what seeds do you want to plant? But it's like you can look at your winter, if you're if you know where you want to go in the spring and what next year's going to look for you, how can you spend your winter working for you so that come spring you're going to have the energy to be able to do all the things, which is what happens during your follicular week, which happens during the new moon. And then when you move from spring to summer, it's like, okay, well now how can I like really ramp up my output? Where can I really start to enjoy things? Like, this is summer's your ovulation, baby. That it's like, where can I just like enjoy everything that I want and feel like I'm unstoppable doing it? Which is like usually in that period, like right before the new moon, right at the end of the new moon, right before the full moon. There's like that quarter moon that's just like your manifestations are either going to pop in or you just have like this sudden surge of energy to be able to do all those things. It's the same. And then moving from the summer to the winter or to the fall, it's like, this is when you're a luteal. You're okay. It's like, okay, how do I slow down? How do I celebrate? How do I like get ready for this inevitable rest that's coming up? What are the last like couple things I can do to make my rest period even better? That I don't have to worry about, that I'm like, oh, well, I didn't do that then. Now it's just going to haunt me forever. It's all connected, or it can be if you want. And I think that this is what I love about like the energetic side of things, is when you connect with things, and when you connect with different types of teaching, and when you connect with different philosophies and integrate them in a way that makes sense for you, that what you're searching for is essentially a way to how to enjoy life more. It's maybe not necessarily how to make things easier or simpler, but like, how do I enjoy this more? Am I going to enjoy my physical body more if I know that I have a really good relationship with my menstrual cycle and it's predictable and beautiful and powerful? And now as I move into like my menstrual cycle, into perimenopause and menopause, that it doesn't have to be a season of suffering, that it can be an even like more incredible of the teacher and even more powerful, as I value the like last bits of the sacredness of this time in my life. Whereas I'm like, oh man, it's the new moon again, that my children and my teenagers can have this very subconscious subliminal clock in the sky, how they can notice it and be reminded of their own power, and that there is a balance between asking and receiving, and sitting in attention and letting go, that create beautiful polarity with it, which balances their external world with their internal world, teaches them how to take care of themselves, but also teaches them how to be ambitious. That also includes the absolute inevitability of the seasons that our planet experiences as we again hurl through space in a cyclone of time. I think so much of what I do is to show you that like where we can take being a victim out of the equation, so that we can feel more authentic, we can find the things that feel good, and we can have things work for us so that we can get to where we want to go, to where our soul wants to express more joy and love, which is what this world needs a hell of a lot more of. And yeah, I think it can be that simple. It can be that simple as to following the new moon or full moon, applying that to your physical cycle in your body, and then apply it to the seasonal sections outside. Like anything, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. But I want you to think about it as a way, like, how can I use this to my advantage? Because really, there's nothing you can do about any of it. So how can you make it work for you? Taking a deep breath in and out. We're going to end with a mantra. I honor the cycles of my soul. I honor the cycle of nature. I am grateful for balanced input and output of energy. I am thankful for all these ways that I can listen to my body. My name is Megan, and you can find me on Instagram at Megan E. Poet. And I hope you have an incredible day. Thanks for spending this time.